Hello and welcome to Workers' Comp Unwrapped, the podcast that simplifies workers' compensation for physicians. So, let's get started. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 21 of Workers' Comp Unwrapped with Anique, your host and our guest, who has 15 years of experience in the industry.
Glad to be here.
Today, we are talking about case study, how one practice lost over $120,000 bad documentation.
Yeah.
We're doing a real-world breakdown of some very avoidable errors and how stronger records could have saved a six-figure loss.
A big one.
Yeah. And I have to start with the fact that really defines this whole story. We're talking about a loss of over $120,000. And it wasn't caused by fraud or, bad medicine.
Well, no, not at all.
It was purely because of gaps in their documentation.
Which is the most frustrating part. You see it all the time. In this case, the clinical care was totally valid. The patients were actually getting better.
Right.
But when the claims administrator started digging in, the records they couldn't justify the billing. The whole thing fell apart.
So the providers did the hard work, the actual healing, but they skipped the, quote, easy part, the paperwork, and the entire reimbursement just collapsed.
Ugh, con.
So today, we're basically doing a financial autopsy. Our mission is to walk you through the exact mistakes this practice made that led to that $120,000 hole.
And more importantly, the simple fixes that could have prevented the whole mess.
So let's set the scene a little bit. What kind of practice are we talking about here?
It was a pretty standard multidisciplinary practice out in California. They were focused on orthopedic and physical therapy cases, typical work comp stuff.
High volume.
Oh yeah, very busy. And they were doing good work, clinically speaking. The problem wasn't what they were doing, it was how they were writing it all down.
And the trouble started with the letter, right? An audit.
Exactly. A major claims administrator flagged them for a targeted billing audit, which tells you they were already seeing some patterns they didn't like.
They weren't just picking them at random.
No. And when they started pulling files, they didn't find fraud. What they found was a systemic weakness. It was the same stuff over and over. Missing or, incomplete progress notes. Time-based codes billed with no time actually logged in the chart.
That's a classic.
A huge one. And RFAs, the request for authorization, that had no real justification.
It really feels like the trifecta of self-inflicted wounds.
It is, and on top of that, they were just completely missing the legal rhythm of the required progress reports, the PR2s. They were either gone or way, way too late.
So you've got this pile of small errors, and it all adds up to this massive denial. And once that denial hits, they couldn't even use something like an independent medical review to fight it.
That's the real trap. IMR is supposed to be this unbiased clinical review, right? But the reviewer only gets to see the packet of documents you send them.
So if the proof isn't in the packet,
then the clinical reality doesn't matter. The appeal is dead on arrival. The valid care they deliver just vanishes from a payment perspective.
Okay, let's get really specific then. Let's break down the 6 major pitfalls, the exact things the auditors used to deny this money.
All right, everyone listening should be checking their own systems against this list.
Pitfall number 1, and this one is just so simple, it's maddening. Billing time-based codes without noting the time.
A classic. So when you bill a code like 97110, therapeutic exercise, you're billing for the time you spend face-to-face with the patient. It has to be documented in 15-minute increments.
It's an absolute rule.
It is. And in this case, the practice would bill, say, 4 units. That requires 60 minutes charted.
But the note would say what?
The note would just have a boilerplate line, something like, quote, therapeutic activity provided. That's it.
No duration, no detail, nothing.
Nothing. So the auditor sees a claim for an hour of service, looks at a note that proves maybe 60 seconds of thought, and it's an immediate denial. They gave them nothing to approve.
It's like sending an invoice without a receipt. Okay, pitfall number 2, recycled RFAs without updated justification.
This one speaks to a dangerous kind of laziness. We saw files where the practice submitted the identical RFA month after month.
But the patient is changing.
Right.
They're either getting better or they're not.
Exactly. The treatment plan has to adapt. A utilization reviewer sees that static language, and it's a huge red flag. They need objective updates.
What kind of updates?
Measurable things, changes in range of motion, strength improvements that you can quantify, or even documentation of why the last treatment failed. Just recycling the old language basically says, I didn't bother to check, just pay me again.
A huge risk. Okay, number 3, PR2 reporting lapses.
This is a legal requirement. In California, these progress reports, the PR2s, are required under CCR Section 9785.
Every 45 days.
Every 45 days. In this case study, we saw gaps of over 90 days. You just can't legally justify continued treatment when you're that far outside the window.
And I saw in the notes some of the reports they did submit were also unsigned.
It's jaw-dropping. An unsigned report is an invalid report. In the eyes of an administrator, you might as well have not submitted it at all. That one missing signature can invalidate thousands of dollars of care.
Unbelievable. Okay, pitfall 4 gets into the actual words they used. RFA language, not aligned with MTUS guidelines.
Right. This is about writing for justification, not just for clinical notes. They used really vague, subjective phrases, things like pain persists or symptoms ongoing.
Which is true for the patient, but useless for a biller.
Completely useless. The MTUS, the Medical Treatment Utilization Schedule, it demands a clear link between your objective findings.
Like, can't lift 10 pounds.
Exactly, a functional impact. And then you have to show how your proposed treatment will fix that specific functional problem according to the guidelines. Pain persists is not a justification.
So it's not the patient's back hurts, it's due to lumbar stiffness, the patient can't tie their shoes, an ADL deficit. We need this specific code to restore that function as per MTUS guidelines.
That's the difference. One is a complaint, the other is a legal argument for payment.
Okay, pitfall number 5, incomplete IMR submissions. So they lost the first battle, and then they showed up to the final appeal completely unprepared.
This one is just heartbreaking because it's so avoidable. They filed for IMR, which was the right move, but the packet they sent was missing critical documents.
Like what kind of documents?
Key progress notes, diagnostic reports, sometimes even the operative report that started the whole thing. The reviewer can only rule on the evidence you provide.
If you don't send the evidence.
They can't rule in your favor. It's that simple. They sealed their own fate just by failing to properly assemble the packet.
And the final one, number 6, overuse of templates.
The copy-paste problem. This is where auditors can really smell blood in the water. The clinical notes were identical week after week.
Even if the patient's condition had changed.
Even if the patient was clearly getting better or worse. The narrative never changed. Templates are fine, but they have to force you to input patient-specific updates.
Otherwise, the auditor has to wonder, did they even see the patient this week, or did they just bill for a copy-paste job?
Exactly. It signals that you're just checking a box for billing, not documenting a real, evolving treatment plan.
So those are the 6 mistakes. Now, let's zoom out. Why was this practice even targeted for an audit in the first place?
Well, auditors don't pull files randomly. They're looking for outliers, for anomalies. They have algorithms for this.
What's on their checklist? What set off the alarms?
First, just an above-average billing volume compared to their peers in the area. Second, heavy use of those extended time-based codes we talked about.
So billing for 60-minute sessions all the time?
All the time. That raises a flag. Third, charting that it just consistently lacks specificity. And fourth, those repeat RFAs with no new justification.
And the biggest one?
The biggest alarm bell is when these inconsistencies appear across multiple patient files. One messy file is a mistake. 50 messy files with the same unsigned forms and recycled language.
That's a system.
That's a systemic weakness, and that's when an adjuster knows they found a gold mine for a full-scale audit and, a mass denial.
It's like bad documentation is treated as financial malpractice, even if there was no bad intent.
For a payer, that's exactly what it is. If you can't prove the charge was necessary, then the charge is invalid. End of story. And that's how they get to $120,000.
Okay, let's shift to prevention, because that's what everyone listening needs to hear. What could this practice have done to protect that revenue?
It's all about systems. You have to build systems that make it hard to fail. You can't just rely on individual providers to remember everything.
So give us the concrete tactics. How do you build that armor?
First, monthly internal documentation reviews. Non-negotiable. Someone has to pull a random sample of charts every single month and audit them against this exact list of pitfalls.
You catch the small mistakes before they become habits.
Exactly. And second, use your technology. Your EHR needs to be a fail-safe.
How so?
You set up prompts that force you to include the required time units. Mandate a signature before the note can be finalized. If the time field is empty, the system literally won't let you save the chart.
Make non-compliance impossible. I love that. What about the RFA problem?
You need to build better templates. Templates that prompt for MTUS references that ask questions like, identify the specific functional limitation being addressed. It forces the provider to think in terms of justification.
And you have to train them on this. This isn't language they learn in medical school.
Oh, absolutely not. Mandatory provider coaching is critical. It's a very specific skill, translating clinical care into the language that payers require for a financial defense.
What about that last safety net, the IMR?
Pre-IMR checklists. Simple as that. An admin runs a checklist before any appeal is filed to make sure the full record, all diagnostics, everything is in that packet. You eliminate the dead on arrival submission.
It all comes back to simple, non-negotiable internal habits. It's not rocket science.
It's not. It's about respecting the paperwork as much as you respect the clinical care itself. If you deliver great care, the documentation has to prove it, or the payment is forfeited.
That is an incredibly expensive lesson. So for everyone listening, take this as your call to action. Look at your templates today. Train your staff. Schedule those internal audits.
Because the provocative thought we want to leave you with is this. That $120,000 loss proves that in workers' comp, great clinical care is only 50% of the job.
The other 50% is creating documentation so solid it functions as impenetrable legal and financial armor.
So ask yourself,
if your notes from today can't prove the necessity of the care you delivered last week, what revenue are you risking right now? Don't wait for an adjuster to find the weakness in your armor.
thanks for diving in with us.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
Thanks for listening to Workers' Comp Unwrapped. If you found value in today's episode, subscribe and share with fellow doctors. Stay informed and keep making a difference in your patient's care.